let's talk rational numbers, adding them, subtracting them, also what I'm calling fractions part one. And it's fractions part one because I'm really trying to get across that some of this rational number stuff we can do, okay? But we need to be able to, one, simplify things, okay? And then two, we need to be able to do the adding and the subtracting when it comes to positive and negative numbers. So let's zoom in here. And I know this seems maybe a little elementary for some of you, but I literally started with some vocab. The top number is a numerator. The bottom number is a denominator, okay? And then a rational number, what is that in general? Well, it is a ratio of two integers. So what's an integer? Well, remember, it's basically positive and negative whole numbers. So for us, this is a rational number, but you know what? So is negative 5/6. All right? Simplest form, this is when we can divide both numbers by the same number. And then here's the funny part, until we can't. So what? All right, so let's look at like this one. I can divide both of these numbers by 2, and I get 2/15. I can no longer divide them both by the same number, so I'm done. And then one thing I did here is I stopped and I said, I'm going to give you 3 little tips to help you with reducing fractions. Also, that was another thing. Is simplest form is also called reducing. Okay? So you can reduce something to its simplest form. If you're going to divide something by 2, it's because the last number ends, I guess I shouldn't say the last number, because, how about this? Because the number ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. 8. So like right here, 4, even, 30, even. How do I know it's even? Because it ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Right here, these are even, so I can divide them by 2. So let's just go ahead and do that. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and I get 11 over 17, and it's negative, and we're done there. Now, one thing I want to point out is some of you might think, dude, I can't divide numbers like that in my head. Yes, you can. Here's what I want you to do. As you're doing this, divide one digit at a time. How many times can 2 go into 3? And you think to yourself, oh, of course, once. So then in your head, you know that there's going to be a 1 there and now a 4. This is not too much for you to remember. Now, how many times can 2 go into 14? And it's 17. You're able to do that, I promise. Okay? So down here, that's how we got 17. Now, this next one, it's not divisible by 2 because it doesn't end in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Now, that does, but that does not. So how do you know if something is divisible by 3? And this is kind of a funky one. Its digits add up to be divisible by 3. So here's an example. 108 is really 1 plus 0 plus 8, which is 9. And 9 is divisible by 3. Okay? So we can divide this by 3. Divide by 3, divide by 3. And on top we get 3 because 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now if you're thinking, I can't do 108 in my head. Yeah, you can. Same idea. How many times does 3 go into 1? Well, none. How many times does 3 go into 10? 3 times, okay? That makes us have a 9 there. We subtract and get a 1. You can remember that there's going to be a 1 left over because, let's be honest, when you're dividing by 3, this number right here will either be a 1 or a 2 or nothing, okay? So you could remember a 1 or a 2. And then how many times does 3 go into 18? 6 times. So this is 3 over 36. Well, hang on. We can do this again. And that goes back to this part where it's like, until we can't, right? So let's divide by 3 again. And what do we get? We get 1/12. And now this, by the way, here's where the mental math really kicks in. How many times can 3 go into 3? Once. And into 6? Twice. Easy peasy. Another idea was, how can you divide something by 5? And it was really similar to like the 2 part, because if you can divide by 5, it ends in 0 or 5. There are other rules, but I got to be honest with you, these are like the easiest 5 tools in your toolbox when it comes to doing these. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pause the video real quick, and I'm gonna answer the rest of these. I'm not gonna go through and explain it because I explained that part, and I think you kind of already get this. But you know what? Pause it and see if you can do this on your own. And there are those answers. Improper form is gonna be, so here, first I'm gonna give an example. Improper would be like 7/4. And so here's a number on bottom, and then a bigger number on top. It's bigger, so that's kind of says it's improper. Why is this improper? Well, because a fraction, the numerator, the number on top, in fact, here I'm gonna like draw this little blue arrow. That blue arrow is how many pieces I have, and it's going to be divided by, this is how a fraction works. Draw a green arrow to how many pieces make up a whole. Okay? And if you're like, it's really confusing, well, let's jump over here and do 7/4 real fast. 7/4. A fourth is how many it takes to make up a whole. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a bunch of pizzas and check it out. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the idea. That's how many it takes to make up a whole. Well, I said I have 7/4. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I must have 1 3/4 when I have 7/4. 7/4 equals 1 3/4. It's just like that. The number on top is how many pieces I have. In fact, if you're not following me, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's how many I have. And if you're like, well, why'd you draw all these others? I don't know. I just did. Okay. In fact, if we want to get crazy, I could be like, oh, if I have 13/4, well, you just keep going. Okay. Now, if you're like, that's still a little confusing, then here's how you can do that. You see how many times 4 can go into 7. It would be 1 time, right? 7 minus 4, you'd have 3. Well, guess what? This is 1 with 3 left over out of how many? 4. You might remember back to old school, you had a remainder of 3, so it'd be like 1 remainder 3. Okay, well, what does that mean? It's 1, and then it looks like that. So that's improper form. Mixed number. I think we all remember mixed number. Here's an example. You have a whole number and then a fraction. Now, the thing I want you to remember, in fact, I made students make flashcards over this, is how to convert from mixed number to improper fraction. How do you convert that? Well, please follow along with me. Number 1, you will, Number 1, you will multiply here. Multiply that. 2 times 7 is 14. And then you're going to add that here. 14 plus 2 is 16 over 7. Now, you know me in colors. I'm trying to communicate when I do this. This changed to that. This changed to that. This didn't change. So just like the section above, I kind of did some of these in class, then asked you guys to do them in class, and then, so here's what I'm gonna do. Let's pause the video, and you see what you can do on your own, and then once you unpause it, you'll see some answers. Now, actually, I'm gonna jump in here because I just did this one, and I remembered when I talked through some of these with students that I was like, listen, if looking at this, you go, man, I really don't want to do that in my head. I don't want to divide 42 by 9 in my head. I can't remember how much that would be. Okay, reduce it. So here I'm going to zoom in. Those both can be divided by 3, so reduce it, and you would get negative 14 thirds. And if you're thinking, I can't do that either, you're going to have to be able to do some of the division or multiplication or whatever, either in your head or on paper, right? So like 42 divided by 3 is 1. With a 3, you subtract to get 1. There it is, 14, right? So anyway, there was that one. And now the rewriting the mixed numbers to improper fractions. Why don't I just do one live while I got you here? 9 times 2 is 18. 18 plus 2 is 29ths. And that's really all we're looking for on these is just, listen, just do the multiply to get 16, do the add to get negative 17/4. Okay? And one more thing right here, I do want to point out that when you do this multiplying here, 2 times negative 11, you might think, well, that's negative 22. Get rid of that negative. Do not put the negative there, because what's happening is you're not going to count up how many negatives you have by doing that. And then, because if you were to add negative 22 and 1, you would get 21. But that's not what you have. You have negative 23 over 2. And if you're like, but why is that? Well, if you were to now go backwards like this and divide 23 by 2, there's 1. There's 1. And you'd have 1 left over. Oh, look, that's 11.5, right? And then obviously because of that negative, that's negative. But that's the idea, okay? So now we're to a really important part of this, which is now the actually adding and subtracting. And you notice it says like bases. Here's what I'm doing. Because I threw reducing and improper and mixed numbers through 3 concepts at you at once, and now I'm asking you to do adding and subtracting, we're not going to go crazy and have them be different denominators. We're actually going to do that next. So what I want you to see is this right here. This is hugely important. Is hugely a word? I'm not even sure. I'm going to give this 5 stars, okay? Write all mixed numbers as improper fractions. So the reason I say that is, I mean, if you look at number 22, it's 6/12, which is 1/2. That's easy. You look at 23, that's 7/15. It's done. You look at 24, that's 7/6, or 1 1/6. Okay, no big deal. I want to look at the next one. So, negative 1 5/8 plus 4/8. This is where my, not recommendation, my pleading with you to write all mixed numbers as improper fractions comes into play. Because look at this thing. Are you ready to solve this as it is right now? I'm not. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to convert this by multiplying 8 times 1 to get 8. And then I will add that to 5. And I get 13/8. I'm going to write this one in green just because it just drops straight down, okay? Nothing really happened with it. Now, oh, and don't forget this negative. Now I'm totally ready to do this, because all it really is negative 13 plus 4, which is negative 9. And the 8 part stays the same. Now, on this assignment, all of the denominators are the same. So your thinking really has to be, how do I do this? Oh, I convert it first. That was step 1. So let's write that. This was step 1. Convert. That was step 1. Step 2 was just add, right? That was it. And then step 3 would be like to reduce, or if you need to, convert it back to a mixed number. So that's an acceptable answer. So is this. That's an ugly looking 8. Let's try again. Actually, you get the idea. That should be an 8. There we go. So that's what I'm saying. That is the reason that we're doing this assignment. These 3 problems? No, not really. We're not doing this assignment because of them 3. We're doing it because of 25, 26, 27. Let's go ahead and look at these. In fact, I've said on previous ones that I'm just going to hey, pause it and see what you get. Yeah, I mean, sure, pause it and see what you get, but I am literally right now going to work them. So here we go. Number 26. This first guy is just fine. He just drops straight down because he's not a mixed number. This one, though, 6 times 1 is 6, plus that 1 gives me 7/6. Now, here's where you do need to do a little bit of figuring. plus a negative, that means we are going to just subtract. So if you need some help, here's what's happening. I have been insulted 5 times, and they're going to insult me 7 more times. So that is an insulting of 12 insults. That's great. And then you could divide this to get -2. So that's my answer to number 26. 27, both mixed numbers. I definitely need to convert this because look at this. Are you ready to do 3/4 minus 1/4 and -3 minus 2? Maybe you are, but I'm telling you, we are preparing for the storm, okay? So the storm includes us converting. 4 times 3 is, oh, I almost wrote -12. Be careful. We are not including this negative right now, not including it. Go away. 12 plus 3, let me put a plus sign there, is 15/4. Now we want the negative. Now, okay? Then let's go over here. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9/4. Again, we need to be a little careful. We are subtracting negatives, which is like adding, right? This minus is adding. Removing negative things means you would have more things positively. So -15 plus 9 is -6/4. We can convert that to be -3/2. How? We could divide them both by 2. And then we could also rewrite this as a mixed number of -1.5. Those are our answers here. So this part down here was the next 2 pages, and this was the genuine assignment portion of this, to where it's like, hey, I'm asking you to go ahead and try these out. So I will post the answers to these because honestly, you could just put them in a calculator or Google them or whatever, and I want you to at least see the right answers. If you need help on these, please come and ask me, email me, something like that. Let me know how I can help you with rational numbers, adding and subtracting, also known as fractions number 1. See ya.